Betrayal is the one thing that is utterly unacceptable in the underground world of gangsters. The gruesome fate of drug kingpin El Cholo confirms that death can in fact be an act of mercy. What were the events that took El Cholo from being right-hand man to the all-powerful druglord El Mencho, to a prisoner excruciatingly tortured for days before being put out of his misery? Just what did El Cholo do that angered his cartel leader so much? Watch this video till the end to find out why you should never betray El Mencho. El Cholo. As a child, El Cholo grew up with nothing. He was self-made in the drug trade. When he was a sicario for drug kingpin El Maradona, El Cholo became acquainted with El Mencho. Little did he know this was the man who would ultimately be responsible for his bone-chilling end. El Cholo was somewhat of a right-hand man to El Mencho, as both of them carried out orders of their boss. He witnessed the decline of their current cartel, as the leaders were one by one either getting arrested or killed. This is when El Mencho stepped in and took control. He reorganized the criminal group, renaming it the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or the CJNG. The CJNG. The CJNG is an organization that presently still operates. It is a relatively small cartel, but one that strikes fear in the hearts of anyone who is aware of who they are. They are notorious for being extremely brutal and are experts in spreading terror in their city. For one, they are the only drug cartel that openly took on the Mexican government. The ruthless members kill government officials with no inhibition. This includes the assassination of Aristotle Sandoval, the former governor of Jalisco. Moreover, in order to prove oneself worthy, the cartel's initiation process includes the murder and cannibalization of innocent victims, including children and women. They are a ruthless and violent group, one most people would not even think to cross. However, that is exactly what El Cholo did in his pursuit of power. El Mencho. Before he became the leader of CJNG in 2011, El Mencho entreated his former bosses by being incredibly violent and capable of brutality, while at the same time being organized and disciplined. These qualities were what landed him employment by El Maradona and other drug lords. These same qualities were the reason he became widely feared after he took control of the CJNG. He refused to silently kill and make his victims disappear. Instead, he would kill in broad daylight and leave bodies hanging for the public to see, spreading terror among the citizens of the city. He would personally order each and every hit, and the person carrying out most of these were no other than his trusted friend and right-hand man, El Cholo. El Cholo's betrayal. While El Mencho blindly trusted his partner in crime and considered him to be a loyal acquaintance, El Cholo was no longer interested in being number two. He was hungry for more power, more authority. So much so that he initiated a rebellion against the CJNG, the punishment for which in the cartel world is death. As we mentioned before, all of the hits carried out by members of the CJNG were directly ordered by El Mencho himself. The first seed of rebellion planted by El Cholo was taking out victims without authorization. Soon enough, the financial operator of the gang, Marcos Hernandez, in an effort to gain favor of his boss, told El Mencho about the actions of El Cholo. However, even at this point, things were redeemable, and El Mencho was capable of letting this slide. El Cholo, on the other hand, had no intentions of patching things up with the cartel. Instead of de-escalating the situation, he assassinated Marcos Hernandez for having snitched on him. This murder was the last straw for El Mencho, and he took it as an open declaration of war. Not only this, but El Cholo managed to convince some of the generals of the CJNG to betray the cartel as well. El Mencho's retaliation. In a fit of rage, El Mencho ordered a hit on the traitor El Cholo in order to nip the situation in the bud. El Cholo was not fazed by this order and proceeded to further humiliate the CJNG leader by killing the head of the assassination squad that was sent to murder him. In the days that followed, El Cholo and the rest of the former generals of the CJNG formed an alliance with the rival Sinaloa cartel. This war between the two drug cartels proved to be lethal for the citizens of Guadalajara. Innocent men, women, and children were caught in the crossfires. Shootouts in broad daylight were not uncommon, and the city was riddled with corpses of the victims. Public transportation was often set on fire in order to send messages. Fear among the people was widespread. It seemed that El Cholo was successful in his mission of becoming the top drug kingpin, as the war was apparently tipping in his favor. But El Cholo's assumptions of power safety were just an illusion. He had not outsmarted the CGNG at all. El Cholo's abduction. It all came crumbling down when El Cholo was finally captured by El Mencho's henchmen. A bone-chilling and bizarre video was released on social media in which El Cholo confessed to being an enemy of the CGNG while being surrounded by armed men. In a monotone voice and with a calm demeanor, El Cholo stated that he had betrayed the cartel and named Omar Garcia as his enabler in all criminal activities. At the end of the video, El Cholo told the rest of his followers to hold their families close and to not follow in his footsteps, or they would end up in the same place he is. Omar Garcia happened to be the Mexico police chief at the time. In a tweet, he vehemently denied any claims of his involvement in the situation. The torture and demise of El Cholo. The next 2 days were spent by El Cholo in excruciating, unimaginable pain. Even by standards of the cartel, the torture methods used on him were extreme, to say the least. The tibia, femur, and patella bones in both of his legs had been crushed. Some of his toes were chopped off. The ones that remained were all broken. His eyeballs were pulled out of their sockets. His tongue was not simply cut out, but was ripped out by the muscle at the back of his mouth using a clamp. Moreover, he was electrocuted at very high voltages. Not only was El Cholo alive during the entirety of this cruel procedure, but he was given stimulants to ensure he would not pass out from the pain and would feel everything to the highest level. After these slow and painful 48 hours, El Cholo was finally put out of his misty by 2 gunshot wounds to the head, a definite act of kindness at this point. His dead body was found displayed on a public bench, and it sent a clear message. You do not mess with the CGNG. No one can deny that the methods El Mencho used on his former associate were inhumane, and no amount of betrayal of trust can be used to justify them. However, El Cholo was no rookie. He had been part of the drug trade since he was a teen. He was well aware of the lengths that cartels can go to send a message. Yet he still became a traitor to his gang and leader. What do you think his reasons were to risk a rebellion against one of the most violent criminal groups in the present day? Let us know in the comments what your opinions are on the topic. Once again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and push notifications on for more content.